Last season, I gave you my essential kit list for beginners looking to go glacier skiing for the first time, such as here on the Valley Blanche. So today, I'm going to show you everything that I carry in my bag and on my person for ski mountaineering. Ski mountaineering is quite a broad and ill-defined term, which means many things to many people. But what I'm not talking about here is skimo. Yes, skimo is short for ski mountaineering, but it's not ski mountaineering. It's its own separate entity, much closer to ski de fond, cross-country skiing, than what most people consider to be proper ski mountaineering. So for me, the essence of ski mountaineering is climbing mountains on skis. But of course, you don't actually need to summit anything to be properly ski mountaineering. It's any kind of adventurous backcountry skiing that requires some extra skills and some extra techniques to be able to get down safely, or indeed up safely. So, talking glacier skiing, climbing couloirs to ski the couloirs, ski touring in to do mixed and ice climbs, climbing something to ski a line, that kind of thing. Many different things to many people, all fall under the umbrella of ski mountaineering. And as such, the kit that you need to carry can be quite diverse for different days. So I'm going to give you quite a general flavour and talk about specific things I might need on specific days. But you won't of course need to carry every single item every single time you're going ski mountaineering. In my glacier skiing video, I talked in general terms. You're going to need a rope, you're going to need a harness. I didn't go into specifics, but today I will be going through specifics of brands, makes and models of what I use. But I should point out, I am not sponsored or supported by any of these brands. So if you're listening, Petzl, I'm available. I do have a lot of kit by certain similar brands, but I'm not particularly brand loyal. It just happens that certain brands make the piece of kit that I need does the job that I want it to do at an affordable price. First things first, I have my skins. There aren't many ski mountaineering objectives that won't require some uphill. But even if you're not planning on doing any skinning uphill, maybe you're just skiing down the Valley Blanche for example, it's still highly worth bringing your skins because these can be a get out of jail free card if you take a wrong turn, go down a dead end. So I'll always have these. If I'm not actually skinning up something, then these will probably stay at the bottom of my bag. It's not something you're going to need quick access to in an emergency, so yeah, it can stay at the bottom. But yeah, I'll always be carrying skins of some description if I'm doing some kind of ski mountaineering. Now it goes without saying, of course, that if you're bringing skins, you're also going to have some kind of touring skis and some kind of touring boots. I have different skis and different boots for different days. So I'm not going to go into detail of what skis and boots I have, but yeah, obviously I'm going to have some kind of touring setup. But I will mention that I like to use collapsible poles when I'm ski mountaineering. Now, people have different opinions on this. People will argue that there's really no need to have a collapsible pole because the biggest thing that's always going to be on your bag or in your hands, in your car, whatever, is your skis. So there's no need to have a pole that can collapse shorter than your skis anyway. But for me, they are still well worth having. Personally, when I'm skinning, I like to be able to extend the pole longer than I would ski with it. And then when I'm skiing downhill, I can collapse it back down to the length that I like to use for skiing. Now you'll see many people using extra long poles, and then when they're skiing downhill, they'll just ski with a hand partway down the pole. But for me, that just makes you look like a little bit of a poser. And to be honest, you can't ski as well with your hand halfway down the pole as you can in the correct position anyway. So yes, you're saving a few grams by not having a collapsible pole, but for me, I'd much rather have the collapsible pole. Other reasons for having collapsible poles is when you're boot packing up a couloir, often I'll have an axe in one hand, pole in the other. Sometimes, depending on the snow conditions, I'll just have two poles out. And then if you're going up something quite steep, 45-degree couloir, you're not going to want a really long pole because you're not going to be able to use it very well. So I like to collapse my poles. I can still use them as walking poles, boot packing up a fairly steep couloir. Indeed, you might be using your pole to clear the snow in the ascent. And again, having a full-length pole makes it really unwieldy. It's much easier to use a collapsed pole if you're using that to dig your trench and clear the top layer of snow than it is a full-length pole. So here I've just got a cheap Wednesday pole. I love the fact that it's bright green. Unfortunately, newer models are black or grey, which is just not as cool, but they are lighter, that's the positive. This is quite a heavy pole, but I love it anyway. I still use it because it's bright green, but also because it collapses. Now, next in my bag, I'm likely to have some kind of rope. Now, there are some ski mountain objectives where you don't need any rope, but if you're doing any kind of glacial travel, or you're going to require some kind of rappel or abseil, then of course you're going to need a rope. Indeed, if you're doing some kind of mixed climbing as well, you're definitely going to need a rope. Exactly which rope you bring will obviously depend on what its purpose is. If the rope is purely for crevasse rescue, you want something as small and light as possible, and that's what I've got here. So this is a 30-metre half and twin rope. It is fully rated to climb with, but yeah, it's a half or twin rope, and it's 7.5mm thickness, so nice and light, nice and thin. Now this is from Decathlon. It's a Simmons rope. I think it's their Rando rope. It does come in different lengths. This is a 30 metre, you can get a 40 metre and a 50 metre as well. But yeah, this is primarily for crevasse rescue if you're glacier skiing. But of course, you can still use this for rappelling as well. Indeed, I have mixed climbing with this. I climb the Matterhorn with this rope. If I don't need a longer rope for rappels, then this is what I'll carry because it is my lightest rope. Now, of course, especially around here in Chamonix, there'll be times when you need to carry a longer rope. A lot of ski descents here require 60 metre rappels as well, so you'll then need two 60 metre ropes between you. But it's always nice to not have to carry a 60 metre rope and get away with a 30 metre rope. So when I am needing to carry 60 metre ropes, I also have 7.5mm thick twin half ropes from Simmond, from Decathlon. Can't remember what they're called. They might be the ice lines or the gullies, but yeah, they are their lightest, skinniest rope that Simmons make. Like with everything, when you're ski mountaineering, weight matters. You want it to be as thin and as light as possible. Now, if you're carrying a rope, then you're also going to need to carry or preferably wear a harness. Again, there will be some mountaineering objectives which don't require you to bring a rope or a harness, but the vast majority of time when you're ski mountaineering, you're going to need a harness. So here I have the Petzl altitude harness. So this is a fully rated climbing harness. You could sport climb in this if you wanted to. You wouldn't want to, but you could. But I have used this harness for mixed and ice climbing. And again, this is my main ski touring and alpine climbing harness. You can get ridiculously light skimo harnesses and harnesses that are purely made for ski touring. But as I use this for alpine climbing as well, there's no point in me having both. This is an older version of the harness. The newer model has bigger, sturdier gear loops, but other than that, it's fundamentally the same. It's basically just a thin webbing harness with a very minimalist design. So small gear loops, small straps, small buckles. On my harness today, I've got my standard crevasse rescue kit. Now, exactly what you carry will depend on what technique of crevasse rescue you use. There are, of course, different methods of the Z hoist, 3 to 1, 5 to 1, 7 to 1, etc. There's no point in you learning them all. Just pick one and stick with it. Unless you're in mountain rescue or ski patrol, you don't need to learn multiple methods. If you are carrying out a crevasse rescue, it's going to be a high stress environment. You don't want to think about too many variables, just pick one and stick with it. And that will define what you need to carry. My crevasse rescue setup is something that I've developed and increased over time. But when I first started out, simply all I carried was some kind of sling and a carabiner, and then Rucksack and a DMN revolve carabiner, which acted as the pulley. Of course, that's very minimalist, very simple, and not the most efficient, but it will do the job. But I have since improved that method and got more specialist equipment. I still have a standard 60cm sling, which I have on my harness. That's there attached to my bag, and if I fall in a crevasse, that's to make me secure on my ice screw or to give a higher anchor point for the rescuers themselves. Then ice screw, if you're doing it by the book, they'll tell you need to carry 2 mid to long length ice screws. The reality is you only need 1, and a mid length will do. This isn't going to be used as an anchor for building a belay, unless you are intending to build belays with your ice screws, and then of course bring 2. But purely for crevasse rescue and glacial travel, all you need is 1 mid-length screw. The purpose of this is to attach yourself to the ice if you fall in the crevasse and make yourself safe. And glacial ice is really, really tough. You could hang a bus on a single mid-length screw. You really don't need to have 2, you're just carrying extra kit you don't need. Again, when I first started out, I used to carry my standard ice climbing ice screws, which are bulkier and heavier. I have since bought this, which is the Blue Ice Aerolite ice screw, which I believe, at least at the time of manufacture, was the lightest fully rated climbing ice screw on the market. These are super light. I mean, other brands make very similar screws, so it has a steel tip, but then an alloy shaft, which saves plenty of weight on the shaft. It's also got a very minimalist handle, but it does still have the twiddly lever handle to make placing it quicker and easier. And then that's attached to my harness using a DMM Phantom Snapgate carabiner. Nice and lightweight, slim, simple. And then the equipment that I have for the Z hoist itself is this. Again, as minimalist and as lightweight as possible. So, got the Petzl T-block, that's replaced the Rucksack I used to carry. Again, on a DMM Phantom carabiner. This one happens to be on a screw gate. I have the Petzl Nano Traction. This has largely replaced the Micro Traction. Does very much the same job, but it's even smaller, even lighter. Again, it's on a DMM Phantom screw gate carabiner. And then a simple Petzl pulley. These come in a variety of styles. You can get them with metal wheels, or this is the plastic wheel, which is lighter and cheaper. It's slightly less efficient than the metal wheels, but I'll put up with that for the sake of saving weight and saving money. Again, that's on a nice lightweight carabiner. This one happens to be camp, and also a lightweight 60cm sling as well. This one's Mammoth, but again, many different brands are available. So that's my Crevasse rescue gear. Most people carry far too much stuff, but bear in mind that the more gear you have, the more weight you've got to carry. Plus, it's going to be dangling on your harness, getting in your way, and it's going to detract from the enjoyment of your ski. So you want it to be the absolute minimum that you need. Nothing more, nothing less than what you need for your chosen Crevasse rescue system. Of course, if you're planning on doing something that requires rappels, you're also going to need some kind of belay plate. I have the Petzl Reverso. Again, many other brands are available. This is quite nice and lightweight. You can also use it in guide mode for belaying, which is an advantage. But if all you're doing is rappelling, you don't need something which you can belay with in guide mode, so you could save a few extra grams and just have a very, very simple belayed plate. And then again, if you are planning on rappelling, you're going to carry at least one prusik. Now, again, if you are intending on doing some kind of technical climbing as part of your ski mountaineering objective, you might need to carry a basic rack as well. Now, exactly what you need to carry will be defined by the route that you're doing, so I'm not going to go through it all here, but again, you want kit which is as light and as simple as possible. Next in my bag, I have my crampons. Now, again, there might be some ski mountaineering itineraries that don't require crampons, so if you know you don't need them, then of course don't carry them. But the vast majority of the times, you're going to need to carry these. Even just skiing the Valley Blanche when the arête is equipped, I still always carry these just on the off chance the arête is really icy and I need to wear them. So here, again, I have Petzl gear. This is the Petzl Leopard crampon. This is purely a ski mountaineering and ski touring crampon. It's super lightweight, very minimalist, and both parts of it are aluminium. So this is not rated for climbing with. You can do some very basic mixed climbing with it, but anytime you're using it on rock, it's going to blunt very, very quickly. And you're certainly not going to be able to kick into any hard ice with this. Petzl also make a crampon very similar to this, a hybrid crampon, where the front part is steel, so you can mix climb with those. A lot of people will use those, then they can use it as their alpine crampon as well as their ski touring crampon. But yeah, I have these because they are so light and so minimalist. And then, to go hand in hand with the crampons, is your ice axe. Again, there can be very, very few ski touring, ski mountaineering itineraries where you're not going to want to carry an ice axe. Here, again, another Petzl piece of equipment. This is the Petzl Ride ice axe. It's virtually identical to the Petzl Gully ice axe, but the Gully has a slightly more technical head, which can come with a hammer and an adze. The Ride only comes with an adze. So that, again, this is a specific ski touring and ski mountaineering ice axe. It's slightly shorter than your average technical ice axe and much shorter than the mountaineering ice axe. It's 45 centimeters long rather than 50 centimeters, which is your standard mountaineering ice axe. That means that it can generally fit in your bag, which is pretty useful because if you crash, you're less likely to impale your back of your head with the point of your ice axe. It also means you're not going to be stabbing tourists when you're in their cabin, sticking it up someone's nose when you're picking up your rucksack, and it just keeps everything cleaner and simpler. There's less clutter on the outside of your bag, so you're going to enjoy your skiing much more if you can fit this in your bag. Again, obviously it is very, very light. It's also very, very comfortable in the hand. It's got a nice ergonomic handle at the top. Slight curve, which is useful to have when you are swinging in and daggeringing, but it's not too curved that you can't plunge it as well. And the spike at the bottom is, well, it's not really a spike, it's more of an internal cavity, which again, that means you're less likely to stab people with your ice axe, less likely to injure yourself as well in a crash. So again, other brands are available. You can get other axes by the likes of Blue Ice, which are very similar to this. I bought this just because it met my needs at a sensible price. And moving on to my Avalanche gear. You can spend a hell of a lot of money on this and get some very fancy transceivers and equipment. But again, to be honest, unless you're a guide or part of mountain rescue or ski patrol, you really don't need the top of the range kit. You can get a perfectly good kit for quite a bit less. So I have the Autobox Zoom 2, I think it's called, I can't remember exactly. It's cost about £200, 200 euros. Relatively basic, relatively simple, but it's also relatively light and slim. I like the shape of this. This comfortably fits in the thigh pocket in most of my trousers. That's where I like to carry my transceiver. I hate using the strap. Well, I've never used the strap. For me, I already don't see the point in having the strap. I put it in the thigh pocket of my trousers. There, it's easy access. I'm not going to be taking my trousers off, so it's always going to be there. And then the probe, I've just got a super cheap one from Wednesday, 240 centimeter length, cost about a tenner. And this is very, very basic. You can get ones which are carbon fibre, lightweight, stronger, and indeed you can get ones which are longer. But to be honest, most of the time, I don't even carry this anyway. The accuracy of transceivers these days is more than good enough that once you've got down to 1 or 2 meters when you're searching, I'm just going to start digging. I'm not going to waste time probing. The human body's pretty big, especially by the time you factor in it's going to have skis, poles, rucksack, everything attached to it as well. If you've got your signal down to about 2 meters, you're not going to miss a human body. So you're just wasting time probing. So yeah, most of the time I actually don't carry that. The exception being actually for glacier skiing. This is more for probing for crevasses if I want to stop and have lunch somewhere. It can also be very, very useful if somebody loses a ski in deep powder, probing to find the ski, which has happened before. I found somebody else's ski who's been there for half an hour looking, using my probe. So it is useful for that. But yeah, not much use actually for avalanche rescue. And then shovel. Again, I've got a very cheap, very basic Wednesday shovel. If I'm doing a really big day, not where I want to be as light and as minimalist as possible, I will leave that part of the handle at home. Just carry that part. Yes, of course, you are losing some leverage when it comes to digging, but first comes to shove, I can shove my ice axe into that hole or pole into that hole to increase the leverage. But yeah, like everything, you want to be as minimalist and light as possible if you're carrying the stuff up a big mountain, up a big couloir. But of course, if I'm just skiing the Valley Blanche like I am now, then yeah, I will use the whole handle. And indeed, if I'm skiing in resort or near resort, I'll use the whole handle. Of course, again, you can spend a hell of a lot of money on your shovel. I think this costs 20 or 30 quid. So you really don't need to break the bank. You can get perfectly good equipment for a sensible price. Now, of course, you can have some kind of food and water in your bag as well. Exactly what you carry will depend on how big your day is. Like everything, you want to be as light and minimalist as possible. Water weighs a hell of a lot. And of course, the more you carry, the more you're going to need to carry. It's a bit of a vicious circle. So I always carry as absolute minimum. I tend to plan to try and run out with my food and water at the top of my objective. Once it's all downhill from there, I'm quite happy in the knowledge that I can suffer until I get home. I have ended up on the wrong side of dehydration lots of times when I'm in the high mountains, but unfortunately, I'm a sweaty person, I respire a lot, I breathe a lot as well. I just can't carry enough water on a massive day such as Mount Blanc to keep me hydrated, unfortunately. I just have to accept that I'm going to get dehydrated. If it's only a single day push, you can do that. You can just rehydrate when you get down. Of course, if you're doing a multi-day objective, like the Hope Route for example, then dehydration becomes a much bigger danger. So you just have to suck it up, carry more and go slower. I don't carry my whole wallet up the mountain with me. Loose change, again, it's just unnecessary extra weight and bulk. I just carry a simple card wallet like this with lift pass if you're needing to use lifts. No point carrying that if you're not using lifts. And then I just grab credit card and my insurance for in case of emergencies. That's it, as minimal and lightweight as possible. You're almost certainly going to need some kind of sun cream and lip balm when you're up in the high mountains. Higher altitude, the sun is stronger, plus it reflects off the snow, meaning that you burn quicker. If it's only a short day, I'll try and get away with leaving these at home, just put a load on before I set off. But yeah, most of the time I need to carry something with me. So again, as small and minimalist as possible, just a little small bottle, and again, a little small balm. Sunglasses, as an absolute minimum, you're going to need something which is category 3, but really you want something which is category 4, proper wraparound, gives full protection of your eye. A lot of people you'll see using fancy fashion sunglasses because they're fancy and fashionable, but they just don't give the adequate protection. You want something which is proper wraparound, sits really close to your face. These, again, like a lot of my kit, was from Decathlon, super cheap. You really don't need to break the bank when it comes to ski mountaineering. I think these cost about a tenner, category 4. I've had them for 5 or 6 years at absolute minimum. They've not let me down. Yes, they fog up. Yes, they scratch quite easily, but at that price, I really don't care. Most of the time when ski mountaineering, I'll also carry some goggles with me in my bag because you don't know what conditions you'll find when you get up here. Even in perfect weather forecast, the cloud can close in very, very quickly. I do have some much more fancy and sexy goggles, but for ski mountaineering, I'll simply just carry these. They don't look very sexy at all, but they are much smaller, lighter, slimmer than my fancier branded goggles. So they'll more easily fit in my bag, and again, they're lightweight. 99% of the time, these will stay in my bag anyway, so there's no point carrying something heavier, bulkier and better when you're just going to be carrying it in your bag. The exception being, of course, if I'm posing for a photo shoot. But for the vast majority of the time, you're going to have your sunglasses on, not your goggles anyway, so these are just as a backup. Regular viewers of my channel will know that often I don't wear a helmet. Now, I'm not going to lecture you either way as to whether you should or shouldn't wear a helmet when you're skiing, but when it comes to ski mountaineering, if you're doing something that requires any kind of boot packing up a couloir, climbing a steep north face, anything where stuff could be falling down on you from above, whether that's rocks or ice, you absolutely need to wear some kind of helmet, because if something hits you on the head, it can knock you off balance and you can end up falling the whole length of whatever it is you just climbed. So even if it's just a small pebble that hit you on the head, you can still end up being killed by the fall. So I'll always wear a helmet when I'm boot packing up something steep. Now, of course, you can get specific ski mountaineering helmets which are lightweight, double up as climbing helmets as well. Indeed, you can get triple rated helmets, which are bike, climb and ski helmets. I don't have any of those at the moment. What I have is this. Just a very basic helmet from Wednesday, again Decathlon, cost about 20 quid, but it is really light and really comfortable. And the big bonus of this is I can remove the earmuffs without removing the liner of the helmet. For some reason, a lot of premium brands, the earmuffs integrated into the liner of the helmet. So you want to remove the earmuffs, you have to remove the whole liner, and then it becomes a really uncomfortable helmet. Whereas with this, I can leave the liner in and remove the earmuffs. Again, that saves a bit of weight, but also you're going to get hot when you're climbing up a couloir, even if it is quite a cold day, so you don't want that extra insulation of the earmuffs. You can always put a woolly hat on underneath the helmet for the ski descent to keep your ears warm, or use a buff in some kind of manner around your head. So yeah, this is the helmet that you'll see me using most of the time in my ski mountaineering videos, even though it's not particularly sexy, just because it's light and comfortable. I've just mentioned the woolly hat. Even if you're planning on wearing a helmet all day, you're still going to want to bring a woolly hat, just in case you need something when you take it off, when you sit down to lunch, etc. Also, some kind of buff or neck tube. Again, many brands are available. These cost next to nothing these days. Even in spring when it's super warm like this, I still carry that, because when you've been sweating your way up a couloir, you can get very cold at the top, even directly in the sunlight. Equally, I'll often wear this as a headband as well, or indeed I'll carry two. One as a headband and sweatband, one as a neck tube. And you're going to want at least 2 pairs of gloves. A thin, lightweight glove which you can wear on the uphill, especially if you're skinning. You might not wear it at all, but it's good to have it when it's there. And of course, your standard warmer ski glove for the descent. You might need more than 2 pairs. You might want some kind of glove that you can climb in if you're doing some technical mixed climbing, and then another dry pair of gloves for the descent as well. Or you might need thin liner gloves, fleece glove, shell glove and a ski glove. It all just depends on what you're planning on doing and what the weather's like. But as an absolute minimum, you're going to need 2 pairs of gloves. And then last but not least, of course, is the rucksack, the bag. Now again, I've got different bags for different objectives depending on how lightweight I want to be. But for most ski mountaineering objectives, if I'm needing to carry a lot of kit, this is the bag I'll take. So again, this is from Decathlon, it's Wednesday, Defense 100 I believe it's called. It's a 23 litre bag, so you want something that's around 20 to 30 litres most of the time. That'll cover you for virtually all your needs, everything I've shown you to carry today. The only time you need something bigger than that is if you're doing a multi-day route. Again, the beauty of this bag is it's specifically designed for ski touring and ski mountaineering. So at the front it's got your safety pouch, and this is really easy to get into just by pulling open. In there I've got my axe there today. That's also where my probe and shovel are, so get them for really quick, really easy access without having to open your entire bag. And then the main compartment of the bag zips down all the way around the bag to the bottom, which again, it makes it really easy to get to the stuff you need. If the thing you need is at the bottom of your bag, you can get there without having to take everything else out first. Something which is essential, of course, for ski mountaineering on your bag is the means of carrying your skis. This can carry your skis in an A-frame down the side of the bag. Indeed, you can also adapt these straps to carry a snowboard. If you're a snowboarder, splitboarder, the straps will attach together on the front as well. You can of course get bags which will carry skis in a diagonal slung. Personally for me, I much prefer an A-frame if I'm doing anything remotely technical. It's just much more stable. You're less likely to be kicking the back of your skis, and they're going to be much more comfortable as well. But again, that's just personal preference. This bag also has a removable back protector, so if I am free riding, and especially if I'm doing stuff that's lift access, I'll put that back in. If I need to be lightweight, save a few grams, I'll take it out, so that's a great feature as well. Also got a Rico reflector. Again, it's useful to have. It's not a substitute for Avalanche gear, but it does make it easier for them to find your body if you do happen to have a major accident. And a final thing, which is really good about this bag, the waist strap is Velcro, which one makes it much more comfortable to use than having some kind of buckle there. But again, it also makes it really quick and easy to rip off if you need to rescue someone in avalanche, where every second counts. You don't want to be fiddling around with some kind of stuck buckle. So that's it. That's everything I've carried with me today, and pretty much everything I'll carry with me most days when I'm skiing in Chamonix, on all the classic lines around Chamonix. That is my essential ski mountaineering kit list. Okay, I've not talked about clothing today. I've got many different clothing options, many different weather systems, and many different objectives. Today I'm actually in shorts and t-shirt. Might just be the first person ever to ski the Valley Blanche, unironically, in a pair of shorts. But yeah, I'm going to trust you know what layering system you need for your clothing. Of course, like everything else, the emphasis is on small, packable, lightweight. If you've got this far, then thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've learned something. If you have, then please don't forget to hit that subscribe button as it helps out the channel. I produce a weekly snow report throughout the entire ski season from early to mid-December all the way into early May most seasons, and then throughout the summer I also produce alpine conditions reports on a fairly regular basis. So if you like what you've seen today, you'll hopefully like what you'll see on my other videos as well. But yeah, of course, if you are heading out into the high mountains, stay safe, have fun, and I'll see you around.